biggest problem with putting in a limit for the number of individuals in a grocery store is if you put a limit of, let's throw a number out of 50 patrons, that is that Miller's Meats, or is that Lowe's? Is that the Dollar General? Each store is different sized. I did try to go through Department of State Health Services and CDC, their guidance to see if there was a limit, a number that you could put for, a 200,000, or excuse me, a 200 square foot building, for the number of patrons. And that number just does not exist. There wasn't a formula to come up with. I agree with you. I know exactly what you're talking about. That we should have some limits on the number of people in the building at the same time. But I think we have to go with the way the guidance is written to come up with those numbers. Now we may need to go into some specific stores and say, "Hey, this is too many."
One of those stores, Miller Meats, is actually doing curbside pickup also. They've been advertising that.
Correct.
Thank you, Jack.
For what it's
I'm not trying to be difficult, Judge. Just, you think about it. We're trying to stop everyone from going places or talk everyone into not going places and doing things. And you can go to the grocery store and you walking down the aisles with, it's hard to count how many people would be in the store.
But at the end of the day, it's going to be on the businesses to ensure that their employees and they hold the social distancing requirements. This is, as Becky was just saying, this is intrinsic. It's dependent upon each location also. And even if you were to put even more strict requirements on there, still you've got the on there. So and go ahead.
Just texted said that a possibility is to look at the fire marshal for a large and work with the fire marshal as well.
Yeah, and we can also work with the fire marshal on that. But again, it's one of those things that you can put in place, but you've got to have a means to enforce it.
Well, it wouldn't be the same as anywhere else, at your house or my house or anywhere that there's gatherings of more than 10 people. That's where I'm missing or in the gray area, I guess, because you can't have anywhere where the ceasing of all gatherings of more than 10 people everywhere except the grocery store. And that's inside. You can go to the parks, you can go parks, walking, jogging, whatever, but you got to keep your distance. But in the grocery store, I'm telling you, I have been in the grocery stores, they're not keeping distance, and the number of people is not being managed unless that has changed in 3 days.
I don't think it's changed, but I think the social gathering is the part that we're missing here. These people are not gathering for a social occasion.
But does the title make a difference, Judge? And I'm not trying to be smart, but does the title make a difference whenever you walk? In my mind, the spread of the disease is what we're trying to stop. It's not if these people like each other or know each other or anything else. They are still in the same place and a highly risk of spreading this disease or this virus.
So do you have prescribed wording you want in there?
Sir?
Do you have prescribed wording that you want in there?
No, sir, I do not. But I just think there should be something in there that should at least encourage these grocery stores to do that. If not mandatory, at least encourage them. And I do think that would help if you or Dr. Franklin talk to the grocery stores a little about doing that. But
okay, I understand what you're saying, Commissioner Moss, but one of the things that this order spells out is that there are going to be essential activities that have to be allowed. And that would be to obtain necessary services or supplies for themselves and their family or household members, deliver those services or supplies to others. And this is where that's going to fall into place. But I will commit to you and everybody listening that I will work with Dr. Franklin. We'll go work with the store to see if we can't come up with something that is agreeable to everyone and still do what we can to keep everyone safe. But we can't, I guess the thing that I don't want to do is limit everyone to the point that they can't go to the store because they can't count the number of people that are inside the store.
Well, I understand that people need to go, and I appreciate what you're doing, Judge. I know you put in a lot of hours on this and will continue. I'm just, it's worried me the whole time is, you know, these people that may be kind of sick and may not, or may have this and then don't know it, as we all know that can happen. In my mind, the grocery stores are a problem. I
Yes.
definitely don't want to stop people from getting groceries.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think that's one of the places, and that's why it's so important, like Franklin said, not to take your family to go in there and get out. You know, wash your hands as soon as you get out. And take off if you can.
Even though the order,
the attorney
even though the order,
language, I'm assuming they had the language for most of this thing.
Correct. Commissioner Sandoval, did you have something?
well, I was going to say, even though the order under B, all businesses are supposed to create social distancing for their employees and everybody else and the general public, the point that the commissioner raises is if you had 10 people only that were allowed to go into Lowe's, and I guarantee you, if there were 3 of them showed up at the milk counter, they would be trying to get some milk. They would be closer than the 6 feet. And then when they show up at the cash register, there's no way to maintain 6 feet distance. HEB has put up big screens. Buddy's over here in Kingston has plexiglass screens in front of the cashiers now. But I was in there yesterday, and the line was probably 4 people in line, and they were within 2 feet of each other. So even though you have these things, when I went to the grocery store, I went to Dollar Store last week, and I went down an aisle, started down an aisle, and there was 2 people trying to pick dog food or something off the counter. I just turned and went to a different aisle and waited till it broke up and went down. So I think that those that go there have to have some common sense. And I don't know how you could essentially put everything in this order, which God has a ton of stuff in it, that would make it viable, because there's not ever going to be a chance to be 6 foot away from somebody unless you're paying for gas on a gas pump and you're out there by yourself. So I think it's, once it's read and people understand it, because that's an essential business, the grocery store, different from a church, etc.
Thank
So
you.
I say, and line spacing and everything else in the draft, I find no fault with it, except enforcement, where like take hair and nail salons and barber shops. And I have a doctor's appointment coming up on April the 6th. I'm going to be sitting right next to that doctor. So how do you say, doc, here, have a look at this, and then you're 10 feet away? We just can't cover everything. You just have to use common sense. And I'm going to ask the doctor before I go, hey, doc, are you running a fever? I'm going to ask him the 3 questions. That's all I'm saying. I think this thing, the only other thing I think is, didn't the governor extend his until the end of April? Or am I mistaken? And we're cutting this one off on April 13th?
We can extend it if we need to.
Okay, because we have a meeting on the 13th.
You can allow Judge to get to the point to make this order, you're being very conservative.
Yeah, I think what we're going to do is we're going to try and make this as conservative as possible and still recognize that there's going to be challenges. I think it's important that everybody understands that mobility is the cause of this spread, and this threat is regional. This is not a local deal just in Llano County. Our first two cases, they were residents who were traveling or innocently exposed. We might not be, well, we weren't that fortunate with the third one. Just so everybody understands also, the medical reports that are most recent in Llano County concerned a COVID case that was community from an unknown, unnamed carrier who may or not have been exhibiting any signs. And this is not to point fingers at any person in our community or any person that is visiting Llano County. This is just to point out how dangerous this is. I mean, we've got 124 counties in the state of Texas right now with confirmed cases. We're up to almost 3,000 cases of confirmed cases, and we're up to 38 deaths. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I think the order is what we need to put in place now to help slow this down, to help preserve our beds, to help figure out how we're going to deal with this as it gets worse. One of the things to remember also is that everyone in the Hill Country is fairly used to, if someone goes to the doctor around here and they get critically ill, they're used to being transferred to Austin. If Austin gets inundated like they say they're going to get inundated, the hospital beds in Austin are not going to be an option anymore. The Hill Country healthcare system is going to get strained very rapidly. And those are some of the things that I'm also looking at. Now, having said all that, there are things that we have to consider also with you've got people with child abuse, you've got people with family abuse, you've got mental problems, you've got all types of things that if we try to cram everybody in their house at one time and not have any outlets at all, we're going to create even more problems on top of this. So to me, this is I guess a solution to where we can help start trying to fit this problem into I guess, parameters that we can deal with. That's also going to let us help keep the economy going as much as possible. I realize it's going to have an impact on some businesses more than others, but that's just the nature of the beast right now and the situation that we're in. I didn't mean to go on a ramble, but it's something that we've been working very many hours on, and we're trying to make it so that it is the best fit for everybody. And there's no way, nothing that we do on this that's going to make everybody happy. So I'll open it back up to Commissioner Raskey. I haven't heard from you. Do you have any comments on that you wish to make?
I'm sorry, you talking to me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, it's buffering in and out. So, no, I agree. I think that we have to be cognizant of our economy, but we also have to be very well aware that we have our own personal responsibility to follow the regulations and to stay 6 feet away. Social distancing, I believe, is going to be key here. And I think it's important that we all recognize that. But that's on each one of us to do that.
Mr. Jones, do you have anything else?
This morning on TV by Dr. Birx, that's the lady who was the advisor to President Trump, who was the infectious disease expert. And one of her concerns is exactly what we're talking about, and that is there are locations within the U.S., and of course, in our case, in Texas, that do not have a high incident of infection now. And what her concerns were is that you can go to from 5 to 500 very quickly. And if there's not enough proactive effort put in place up front, that could take place. And I think from a responsible point of view, from a county point of view, we need to make sure we have an order and guidelines in place to help people have a direction of how they should be protecting themselves and others and going forward. So we're at a point now where we don't have a high infection rate, and we want to keep it that way. And I think anything we can do to assist in that without creating undue hardships or undue orders that limit people's activity to such an extent that they can't operate. I think if we can do that, then that's that's a help in the right direction. I think this order is another step in addition to the order we already have in place that helps to accomplish that. And hopefully, and I'm sure residents will be grateful and follow that as best they can.
Thank you. Commissioner Moss?
Well, I've harped on that long enough. I have not changed. I do think there needs to be some wording in there to stop the grocery stores from having so many people in them. Other than that, the order looks really good to me. I appreciate all the hard work you put on this, Judge. I know you worked all weekend. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Sandoval, did you have anything?
No, sir, I'm good.
Okay. Give me 1 second, please. Okay, we are going to continue working on this order. The order will be effective tonight at midnight. And as soon as we get the order put out, we will post it on the website. We will also post it on the Emergency Management Facebook page. We will also post a question and answer, if you will, PowerPoint that explains hopefully some of the questions. If at any time someone has a question, if they can ask us in an email to Gilbert, I'll work with Gilbert on his email to get those responses back. And again, I just ask everyone to remember that we do not have all the answers. We are not getting all the answers to questions we ourselves are asking to the medical profession, state, and to the federal government. But everyone again is working on something that no one in this nation has ever worked on before. It's all new to us, and it's a developing situation on a day-to-day basis. And again, I commend everyone, all the medical professionals, first responders, and all the businesses that are helping us get through this time. And it's working together. As long as we keep working together, we'll get through this, just like flood, and I'm confident we'll get through this. With that, I'll close the Commissioners' emergency meeting and wish everyone a good day.
Thank
Yes, sir.
you,
Thanks,
Judge.
Judge.